I consider it an absolute crime that the 4 books I'm going to mention in this video aren't on every single person's bookshelf. And it's really funny that right before I hit play on this video, I did a quick Google search on what are the top books that anyone should read as it relates to self-improvement and reality creation. And it was all the mainstream titles that came up, like books from Tony Robbins or Eckhart Tolle, Mark Manson, James Clear, Joe Dispenza, Malcolm Gladwell, Robert Greene, and a bunch of other people that I've read most of their books and they're pretty good. But the fact that these aren't at the top of every single list is absolutely insane to me. Because when I came across these books, it basically made everything else that I've read obsolete. And I've read close to 1,000 books at this point. For the last 13 years, the dominant aim, the dominant purpose of my life has been to uncover the actual wisdom and knowledge that affects change on your reality so that you can master yourself and master your reality. And I also impart this wisdom into people, into my clients every single day. And so I can tell you with certainty that these 4 books, they basically make everything else almost a waste of time. And I think this is done intentionally. If you think about this, right, the way the world works, there are secret societies and people in power that don't want you to know this information, because if you did know this information, you would be impossible to control because you are a master of yourself. So you are not influenceable by the societal matrix that wants you to be, that they want you to be stuck. But the thing is, they're using this information against you. And so I think that they intentionally don't put these books at the top of any of these lists, because these are the actual wisdom and the actual knowledge that will help you to master yourself. And also, I think the other reason is the fact that you guys want a magic pill. You want the instant thing that's going to fix everything. You want everything to be perfect overnight. And that's simply not the case with how this reality works. These books are extremely dense and very nuanced, and it takes a very long time to actually master them. Like, I've been reading them over and over and over again for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And every single person that ever gets into personal growth and development or manifestation, what they want is like the cute shit, the affirmations, or say positive things to yourself in the mirror, and then you'll be happy, and then you'll be confident in yourself, or make a vision board. Like, everybody gravitates towards the easy shit, but when it comes to the actual difficult things to understand, oh no, they don't want to read that. So if you're anything like me and you actually want the real knowledge and the real information that will give you control over your reality, this video is going to resonate tremendously for you. And I'll tell you right now, like, I've read close to 1,000 books. I've invested nearly $250,000 in mentorship to find the best mentors in the world, and I'm telling you with certainty that these books will literally blow your mind, and it's going to be well worth it. Okay, so let's get into it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to break them down, and in no particular order other than the very first book that I'll talk about. Books number 2, 3, and 4 are basically, to me, like a toss-up for second place. But I'll start with the number 1 all-time best book that anybody who wants to manifest their reality, anybody that wants to be more confident and be more successful and have more abundance in their reality, is a book that you often hear me talk about. So if you're new to this channel, go back and watch some of my old videos, because I've mentioned this book many, many times. But the first one is Reality Transurfing. Now, I promise, guys, at some point I will do a singular video just talking all about reality transurfing and all the concepts in it. And that's going to probably be like a 2 or 3 hour video, to be honest. But I'm going to break it down briefly here and just go over some of the key points. And the reason I find this book very interesting is the fact that the author, Vadim Zeland, doesn't really have a personal brand. You can't really find him. There's not many articles on him. He just wrote this book and then disappeared into obscurity. And, you know, typically when people write books, like if you think Tony Robbins or Joe Dispenza, they have seminars that you can come to. Vadim Zeland doesn't have any of that. So I found that very interesting, and actually, to me, is a lot more authentic, because I think part of the reason that people get turned off by the whole self-improvement and reality creation conversation is that everyone is selling a fucking course on this, right? So it's like played out. There's a bunch of marketing. Marketing is just designed to hit at your pain points to get you to take action and spend thousands of dollars, or, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, like I did on myself, and they were actually worth it. But my point here is the fact that this guy is an astrophysicist, wrote this book, and that's what he did. So I always found that very, very compelling about the book in itself. And each chapter on its own, you can basically write a whole book just on every single chapter. There's 19 chapters to the book. But of all the most important concepts that go into it, for me, the thing that resonated the most was this idea of importance. And in layman's terms, importance is like you put things on a pedestal, okay? Now, whenever you do put things on a pedestal, you are pushing them away. Whenever you create importance around an ideal outcome, a level of income, a job, a partner, even a romantic partner, whenever you make these things extremely important, you are actually sabotaging your own acquisition or your own reality of experiencing said manifestation. And you've seen this happen in your life where, especially for the guys out there, if you've ever dated a girl that was a little bit out of your league, or you put all of this importance on her and made her out to be this perfect individual, and you showed up as nervous, or you showed up as inauthentic, or you had all these filters because you were worried about saying the wrong thing. So you didn't show up as genuine in the interaction, and all of a sudden she's gone, right? She ghosts you, she doesn't go on dates anymore with you, you guys break up, whatever the case might be. And all that was happening is you were putting it on a pedestal. So the same way this is very effective in dating, when you take women off the pedestal, and if you're a girl putting guys on a pedestal, when you take guys off the pedestal, all of a sudden, they become easy to get. And I found this concept to be one of the most paradigm-shattering concepts of my life, to be quite honest. And that's because I grew up with the mindset of you need to work extremely hard for everything, and you need to fight for your place under the sun, which is a common phrase that's said in the book. Most people, especially in more success-oriented cultures, they're taught this idea that they need to battle for what it is that they want. They need to strive and struggle in order to get there. Now, that's obviously going to be true in some regard. There's going to be moments where you have to strap up and get the fuck in the battlefield, pick up your sword, pick up your shield, and go take massive action, even if it feels like shit. And also, eventually, you have to graduate into this mindset. Graduate into the mindset of lowering the importance. Because if everything you do is a battlefield, and it's a battle in order to attain business success, or it's a battle to find appropriate partners, romantic partners for your life, or it's a battle and everything's a chess match when it comes to your friends, that's extremely exhausting. And it's like you're going against the grain 24/7. And so the whole idea of mitigating importance is you make things easy to acquire in your reality. And again, this was so contrary to the mindset that I had before, because if you know anything about me, I'm 29 right now, but in my earlier 20s, one of the things I honed in on was my ability to sell, my sales skill set. I went and did 3 summers of door-to-door sales. I was the #1 high-ticket closer at the previous company before I started my own. Before I started my own company, I was working for someone else's company, and I was their #1 closer. And even in high school, when I was in wrestling, you're taught to outwork your competition and all these different things, right? And so in some ways that is true, right? You'll hear Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, all these different figures that are massively successful at their craft. What they did was they outworked everybody else. And also there is a version of this where you just relax and you slow down and you let things come to you, which is much more reflective of the kind of reality that we live in, especially for the average person, okay? And so this idea, you essentially, when it comes to business success or getting the contract in your employment or whatever the case might be, you make it as simple as getting mail from the mailbox. Because when you get mail from the mailbox, are you putting all this pressure on yourself to do that? Are you beating yourself up because you didn't get to the mailbox on time like you normally do? No, you just go and get the mail from the mailbox. It's just like a default part of your reality. And so one level of existence is like work hard, work hard, work hard. But the next level of existence is everything is simple to acquire. All I have to do is show up and interact with the world. That is the epitome of low importance. You treat everything in your reality that the vast majority of people find to be difficult, and for you, it's just automatic. It's very commonplace. And a common translation to this in business is a lot of you guys, as soon as you run into a little bit of money, your vibrational frequency has massive importance to it. And so you can never outrun your frequency. And what happens is you blow the money, you spend it on stupid shit, you become irresponsible, you get lazy and comfortable. Okay, and so all of a sudden you're back at the position you were in before, right? This is because importance energy was surrounding the acquisition of money. But all of my most successful friends that I know that make millions of dollars, every time they make another million, every time they close another big client, Every time they close a high-ticket client, every time they have a big run-up in their business, to them, it's just normal. They're not excited about it because to them, it's just commonplace to do that exact same thing. The same way that, are you excited to put on your shoes in the morning? No, you just put on your shoes and you go outside. That is how you have to treat everything that is important to you in your life. All of your big manifestations, all of your big goals, you reduce the significance of what it means to you, and all of a sudden they become very, very simple to acquire in your reality, and they start to show up in very synchronistic ways because your most authentic expression of yourself, your ability to be yourself in every situation, is automatic. Because there is no pressure. It doesn't matter how you show up. Whatever way you show up, you win, you succeed. And so the whole idea of this will transform your reality into one where you operate from a place of power, because everything that you want, you've already experienced it. And this goes hand in hand with the whole conversation of manifestation. Most people, when they want to manifest something, what do? Oh, I want this money, I want this job, I want this car, I want this house, I want this partner. I want. And they're coming at it from the wrong frame of mind. You have to come at it from the frame of mind that you are already grateful that this is a part of your reality, even if it's not, right? Because before you acquire the thing that it is that you want, you have to create it in your mind. And then you pray to God with a sense of gratitude that it's already real. And all of a sudden, amazing things start to show up in your reality. This is what magnetism is in a person. And it all starts with low importance. And it's not only importance on the things that you want in your reality, but it's also low levels of self-importance, okay? And what I mean by this is, as successful as you might become, or as confident as you think you are, or as worthy as you think you are of the best things that this world has to offer, the world doesn't owe you anything. And this is very contradictory. This is a big contradiction in a sense that, well, if things are easy to get, that must mean I have a big ego, or I must be like a narcissistic type of person. No. What you are doing is you are being so honest and unapologetic about who you are, and you also recognize the fact that wherever the world takes me, I may experience amazing things, I may not experience success, but that is because I have a low level of self-importance. As Marcus Aurelius says, this too shall pass. Not just for the failures and the sadness and the depression, but also for the amazing things that happen to you, for the wins and the victories and the things that you're grateful for. Everything shall pass. And so when you have a low level of self-importance, you're not extremely rigid. You get rid of this perfectionist mindset, because one of the biggest things that does hold people back is they have this idea that their actions need to be perfect. The words that they say have to come out exactly in the appropriate way, and everything has to be extremely structured and perfect. The perfectionist mindset, right? And a lot of times perfection is high levels of self-importance. You have so much of an ego, and your ego is preventing you from taking action because you're afraid of people perceiving you as lesser than, or people disagreeing with you, or people not receiving you in a very positive light. All of that is high levels of self-importance. And this is important in conjunction with low levels of importance for the things that you want, because when you consider things easy to get, and then you allow yourself to operate within this world however you show up, that is extremely magnetic. That is the thing that magnetizes everything you want in your reality in the first place. And then you'll find that you transurf to versions of reality where everything you want becomes real. The money, the success, the status, the friends, the confidence, the ability to speak your mind, the flow in conversation, the wealth of life, not just financial wealth, but the wealth of love and the wealth of experiences and the wealth of fun. That becomes a default version of your reality, your experience of life. And it's because you understand this concept of low levels of self-importance. So it goes really, really hard on that in this book. And it also talks about ways in which you reduce importance and little methods and tips and tricks and paradigms and frames of reality that will help you to eliminate importance in itself. And one of them is, that is very, very resonant for me, is heart-mind union. Okay. And there's a whole chapter on this. And when you are in connection between your heart and mind, you have coherence. And coherence is both the magnetism that attracts things to you, and also your mind is sending out the signal to the world that these are the things that I want. And so you use your logic to specifically define what it is that you want out of your reality, because the mind loves specificity. The mind loves clarity, because if you just say, I want more money, all right, here's another dollar. Like, that's more, it's technically more. But if you were very, very specific, I underlined heart, I meant to underline mind. When you're very, very specific about the amount of money that you want, then that gives you a much better, clear indication on how you're supposed to take action. Because if you want to make an extra $10,000 per month or an extra $20,000 per month, that's a totally different mindset from making an extra $20 per month. Okay. And if you don't ask specifically, then God just goes, here, you just said you want more money. You're praying for more money. Well, here's more. Here's $20 more, right? Get very, very specific by using your mind and using your discernment from a place of logical reasoning to determine what is going to get you to that next level. Because obviously, different opportunities provide different foundations for more, right? If you want to make more money, but you're still working at McDonald's, what the fuck are you gonna, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. However, when you use your heart is like the infiniteness of being. Your heart is the language of the world and how the world works. And when you tune into your heart, that allows you to tap into impossible opportunities. Oftentimes, if you guys ever look at like my client results that I've talked about on my Instagram a lot, if you haven't seen my client results, I'll leave a link in the description, because I've had clients go from 0 to 100K in 2 months, 0 to 100K in 4 months, 72K first month working with me. I have guys getting 30% pay bonuses in their career. And it's all by understanding all of this information, because it allows them to tap into their genius level of thought to call into their reality very quickly what it is that they want. Okay, so if you're interested in getting results like my clients, I'll leave that link in the description. And in order to access that level of geniusness, it begins with the integration of the heart and the mind. Okay, so from a place of infinite abundance and the unrealistic aspect of you, the part of you that your goals and your ambitions and your intentions are so outlandish to the vast majority of people, and then you ground that in, okay, what can I pragmatically do within my reality by using my mind to get to that point, okay? And so your heart is like the compass guiding you on where to go, and the mind is like the guardrails. And so you use the complement of your mind and your heart together in order to manifest the things that you want in your reality and transurf into that reality where the things that you want become very real in real time. And the thing is, this is very important, because we live in a world that is dominated by mind. Mind, everything is mind. That's not realistic. No, you can't do that. No one else has done that before, okay? The epitome of an enslaved mind is a realistic mind. And the vast majority of people are way too realistic. And we live in a world where there is infinite possibility. And in the book, in Reality Transurfing, infinite possibility is termed the space of variations. And so you reduce importance and you exhibit and create coherence between your heart and mind. You start to tune into the space of variations, which is the infinite possibilities out there in the ether of which you can reach out and grab your desired outcome and your desired reality. And the space of variations is where you transurf through this space and into a reality where the money that you want, or the success, or the confidence, or the status, or the friends that you want, that is where everything can be accessed. We have to be open enough, because you've done the job of opening your heart and mind and reducing importances around everything that you want, to enter in the space of variation. And then you get into the wave of good fortune. These are all separate chapters inside the book. And in the wave of good fortune is where all the synchronicity becomes a part of your reality, where good fortune finds you and continues to find you and continues to find you. And your reality turns into like this playground where you can do whatever you want with it, right? And I'll tell you right now, like, it's a very fun reality to be in. It's a very exciting thing to be in, where you know that at any given moment, the space of variations and the wave of good fortune can carry you to life circumstances where everything you want becomes real. And then when you actually see that happen in real time, it's like, it's so mind-boggling and paradigm shattering, and it's impossible to go back, because you start to tap into so much freedom and confidence that it's like you literally become one of the chosen ones, right? It talks about in the book, the chosen ones, like all of the enlightened beings, like Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, Gandhi, all the different beings and all the master teachers that have come forth. It's not that God chose them, it's that they chose themselves, which is the same thing as God choosing them, because God is deeply embedded within every single one of you. And understanding this knowledge and understanding this wisdom and how it applies to your reality allows you to tap into godlike energy, which is high vibration, which allows for you to magnetize everything that you want in your reality. And in the book, there's also other really interesting conversations that go on, like pendulums, okay? And anytime you feel disconnected from God, or you feel like you don't have power or you're creating a ton of importance. It's negative energy and information that is poisoning your mind. Anything that distracts you from your purpose in life, anything that lowers your vibrational frequency is all a pendulum. And pendulums feed off of your energy, and they want you to stay stuck because that means all the pendulums are getting all of your energy. And understanding this and seeing in real time how pendulums are trying to distract you from yourself, you eventually turn into like a ninja. If you guys are into combat sports, right? If you're into MMA, you don't just throw haymakers at your opponent. What you do is you wait for the proper moment, you wait for them to make a mistake, and then you flip the table on them. You flip the dynamic on them, right? Because you're waiting for your moment to strike. If you're just throwing punches and you're just throwing kicks and you're shooting, you're trying to take shoot a double. Like I used to be a wrestler, right? You're trying to shoot a double like from 4 feet away. Of course, it's not going to work, but you're patient, you're in flow with the fight, and you are grounded in your own energy, and you recognize where the distractions are coming from. Then you win the fight. Okay, so understanding this information and all the pendulums of society that are trying to distract you, like politics, like the music that you listen to, like the food that goes into your mouth, like the information that you consume off of YouTube and social media and the news. All of these things are designed to distract you, and even other kinds of life paradigms that you learn from school and the university system. Go to work and get go build up your resume, get a nice job, beg. Hopefully you get the job and beg for that job. And if you remain a good little boy for 40 years, maybe you'll have enough money to actually live with complete freedom. And go buy a house and start having kids as early as possible. All of this is a pendulum. It's all distracting you and trying to fit you into this box. And the whole point of reality transurfing is to not only rip you out of the box and embrace the fact that you are a chosen one. You are a chosen one. The sooner you realize this, the sooner your life comes together. The sooner you internalize this as how your reality works and really how this universe works, and recognizing that everybody's a chosen one. It's not just you watching this right now. It's not just me. Every single person, if they choose to, can be one of the chosen few that has everything go correct for them, everything click for them in their reality, where they have complete freedom and complete confidence to do whatever they want. Only few people will actually embrace that, but that's because you reduce the importance around it. And there's many other things that I could go into from this book, but these are just some of the core things that really stick out to me. There's goals and doors. You have to walk through the right door. If you're on path to a goal and it gets extremely difficult and you can't really make any correct moves and you're stagnant and you're apathetic, you probably walk through the wrong door. So you have to go back to the beginning, go back to heart, mind, union, and connect with yourself. Because if you walk through the wrong door, you probably didn't listen to your heart at some point. And this can come in the form of you went and got a job that didn't align with you, but someone told you it was high paying or was prestigious, and you went ahead and did it anyways, even though your heart was calling you to go do something else. I can't tell you how many times I talked to people in like their 40s and 50s that were like, yeah, I mean, I became a doctor or a lawyer just because everyone said it was the thing to do, and I'm like fucking miserable now. And they have all types of life problems, and they have the success that people said was worthy and worthwhile. But then they actually get there, they're like, what the fuck? I just wasted 40 years of my life to do what, you know? And then they have this midlife crisis that they go back to connecting with their heart, and they walk through the right door, the correct door that actually allows for the life path to unfold for them. But that's because they listened to their heart and they chose themselves, not the pendulums, not what society thinks, they chose themselves. And the final thing I'll say here, of all the most important and resonant illustrations that this book gives, it's like the idea of circumstance you want in your life is as simple as going into a shop, going to like a little bodega and asking the shopkeeper for that thing. So let's say you want to have a successful business. I want to be a successful entrepreneur. And the shopkeeper goes, yeah, you know, they get tons of money, they have a ton of influence, they have a dramatic impact on the culture and on society. Here you go. That's the thing for you. And then you, because your mind is hypercritical, because you are relying on your mind and relying solely on logic, and you've been taught you have to fight for a place under the sun, your mind starts to play tricks on you and goes, oh, well, that's got to be extremely hard. You know, like you can't trust people because if they know you have money or if they know you're successful, then they're difficult to trust. And imagine all the stress that they have to deal with in order to become successful. And the shopkeeper goes, yeah, you know, if that's what you think this is, okay, I don't have to give this to you. It's like, but is it really that easy? Can I really just accept the fate and the door and the reality of being a successful entrepreneur and having a big business and a big brand that supports a bunch of people, like, is that really meant for me? The shopkeeper goes, okay, well, I guess you don't want it then. And they put it right back on the shelf. This is how people treat their goals and their manifestations. They overestimate, they overanalyze, and they make it this extremely arduous task in order for them to be successful. And in truth, it can all be so simple. It can all be so simple. And I can tell you personally, even in my own life, the times where business and things were extremely difficult was when there was a ton of importance, was when I listened to other people instead of listening to myself and my intuition. And this allows you, understanding the concepts in this book allows you to regain control over your reality to the point where you don't even have to go to anybody else for input and feedback, right? Like, I've spent $250,000 to get some of the best mentors in the world. And even at this point in my life and in my reality, I don't necessarily need it because I've done the deeper work of self-mastery and mastering my reality. And so I can literally create anything I want. And there's obviously a time delay, right? There's always a time delay, because we live in the third dimension where time and space are fixed. And so the more patience you can exhibit in the creation of what it is that you want, it's like synchronistic opportunities start to show up by chance encounters, right? You often hear me say this before. I don't think it says this in reality transurfing, but everything you want is 1 degree of separation from where you're at right now. And so if you had that knowledge in mind, knowing that today you can walk outside and meet the right person that takes your business to the next level, would you be frustrated or disgruntled about your reality now? No, because you know it's coming. You know your manifestations are coming. Low importance. It's all coming. God is supporting you. The wave of good fortune is supporting you. Don't let the pendulums distract you. Don't let anybody tell you that you're behind, that you are not on time with your life. Everything is happening exactly as it needs to. Man, we're just getting started. That was only book 1. I'll tell you, that book is insane. I remember I recommended it to a friend of mine. She's pretty famous in Australia. And when I told her about the book, she read it and she's like, Jose, where the fuck did you find this book? You know, she was like, holy shit, this is like mind blowing. I can't believe I never heard of this. The Kabbalion by the 3 Initiates. Now, the 3 Initiates were allegedly anonymous authors, but I'm almost certain that one of the authors of this was Manly P. Hall. If you know who he is, he wrote a bunch of really good books on occult wisdom and hermetic philosophies, like the Initiates of the Flame. And so he was one of like the OG guys 100 years ago who would study the occult. And a lot of the people that talk about it nowadays are directly quoting and referencing his work. But the Kabbalion itself was written as a way to understand this universe and understand even the hermetic philosophy, to be able to use law against law in order to influence and control your reality. And this is what the alchemists and the master teachers of time have been using to influence their reality as well. And this all dates back to Hermes Trismegistus, who was the first alchemist, aka Thoth. And Thoth wrote to the Emerald Tablet 36,000 years ago in Egypt. And alchemists, if you're familiar, I think it's on the thumbnail of this video, The Alchemist, which is one of my favorite books, that is not going to be on this list because it's a fictional story, but it was written by Paulo Coelho. And the alchemists of time were famous and were men that studied the occult and were able to turn lead into gold. Not only the physical lead into gold, but also the metaphorical sense of turning nothing into something, of turning scarcity into abundance. And by understanding the hermetic philosophies, you can use law against law and be an alchemist of your own reality and directly manifest the things that you want, because you're actually manifesting everything at every single moment in your reality, in your life. Like, everything you experience is a construct of you, your beliefs, what you think and feel to be true about your reality, and understanding the hermetic principles gives you control over that. Now, there's 7 hermetic principles, and the first one is mentalism, and there's correspondence, vibration, cause and effect, polarity, rhythm, and gender. Now, again, just like with reality transurfing, this alone can be a 3-hour video, so I'm going to try to keep it as concise as possible. But again, understanding these laws allows you to use law against law in order to control your reality. Now, the first one, mentalism, everything is mental. And so everything is mentally thought of before you actually create it. Think about the phone in your hand that you're watching this video on, or even the laptop if you're watching this on like a MacBook. Everything that you see and observe in your reality that you use, and even the road that you drive on, the car that you drive, everything was first thought of consciously before it was actually brought into reality. And so let's say the phone, someone thought about putting a computer into a handheld device where you can scroll the internet and you can go on social media, you can make calls to your friends. And a group of people got together and found all the raw materials, put those raw materials together so that way you can use it for a specific purpose. Now, everything that is created by man uses the principle of mentalism. So in order for you to create the reality that you want, you first have to mentally think about it. Do you want to get to that next level in your reality? You have to specifically and clearly define what that looks like in order for you to step into that with more precision and with more power. Because if you're just like, oh, I hope I have better circumstances, I hope I get more money, I hope I get better friends, I hope I find love, you're being very unclear to your mind. It's very unclear. And so if you want to actually use the law of mentalism to influence your reality, you have to specifically think about the thing that you want. And once you specifically can clearly articulate it and envision it for yourself, you will bring it into your reality. You turn lead into gold. You understand this? Everything is mental. And then there's a law of correspondence. As above, so below. And as below, so above. And so I'll do a little. They go hand in hand. It's the same way and it's opposite. As above, so below, and as below, so above. And what this means is that what you experience in the physical dimension of your reality is influenced by your spiritual connection to yourself, your energetic vibration. And conversely, your energetic vibration is affected by what you experience in the physical dimension. And so what this means is that on the front end, the opportunities and the things that you experience in your reality are a construct of your spiritual and energetic vibration. What this means is if you think and you feel that reality is tough, that the world is a battlefield, that people want you to lose, that the world is not going to show up for you to support you in the creation of your goals and your dreams, well, guess what? That's exactly what you will experience. And you will experience the byproduct of that lack of opportunity or that lack of confidence. And this is all a construct. This is all a byproduct of being in a low vibration. When you're low vibration, that means you're operating out of guilt, fear, and shame. And when you're in a state of fear and shame and guilt, you literally repel opportunities away from you because in your field and in your mind, everything is negative. This is why there's even, if you study David Hawkins and the levels of energy, this is why negative emotions actually sabotage your life because you're looking at your reality from a negative lens. And also, your spiritual and energetic vibration, you can be the most enlightened person in the world. You can be like Jesus, you can be like Buddha, you can be like Hermes Trismegistus. But if you're constantly around environments that suppress you and that sabotage your bandwidth, and that don't empower you, well, guess what? Like, you're not going to experience the reality that you want. This is oftentimes where I'll get people that are talking about, oh, I want to manifest more money, but they live in like a small farm town in like Nebraska where everyone works on like an oil rig or like in a factory or something like that. And then they're surprised at the fact that they're not experiencing more abundance in their reality. Or if you're around people that constantly shit talk you and talk you out of your goals and dreams, well, of course your vibration is going to be low because you're around people that don't support you and don't serve you at the highest levels. You need to get around the right people. You need to get around the right environments that actually raise your vibration. And so you want to go towards environments that are very, very abundant and also have a lot of love to give and a lot of love to share because it is affecting your vibration whether you are conscious of this or not. This is why turn off the fucking news, stop paying attention to politics, stop paying attention to all the problems and all the chaoticness that the world is engaging in, so that way you can raise your energy and affect more change on your physical reality. They go hand in hand. Your physical reality and your spiritual connection to self are directly linked and are influencing your reality whether you are conscious of it or not. So now that you have your conscious attention to this and now you're consciously aware of the fact that this is all going on, you can use the law of correspondence to get into higher energetic states, which will influence your reality. And in your reality, in real time, you will start to experience more abundance. You will find better friends. You will find better opportunities for more. You will have the right ideas in business. You'll be able to execute properly. And you'll be able to exhibit discipline in your reality so that way you can actually break through to that next level. Law of correspondence. The principle of vibration is that everything is emotion. And this is one of the greatest mysteries of this reality and one of the most important truths is that everything is in motion, everything is vibrating, everything has a vibrational frequency to it. You might think that you're surrounded by solid objects, but there is more empty space in between the molecules and atoms of that solid object, to the point where 99% of this reality is antimatter, is the opposite of matter, it's nothingness. That means only 1% of your reality is solid matter. And even that solid matter is only vibrating so quickly and so rapidly that that it has the illusion of solidity to it. You, in theory, should be able to pass your hand through another, but because your mind and your programming has been convinced to believe that everything is solid, you can't actually do it. So spiritual beings, in theory, can dematerialize and walk through walls and whatnot, but because we live in this reality where we are reliant on our senses, your senses can't perceive this, and so everything is solid. So now what this helps you to understand, it's a very crazy concept, but what it does help you to understand is the fact that everything is emitting a frequency. And so beings that are in high vibration are able to manifest things at to a much greater degree and with a greater level of flow. And this is where you'll see magical people that they just have this like aura to them, right? If you ever met someone with a lot of confidence and a lot of self-connection and a lot of self-mastery, they just have this like presence to them where you're around them in the same room and it's just like, who the fuck is this person, right? I call this, who the fuck is that guy energy, because someone who is in that kind of energy almost like takes up more space. So their vibration is so radiant that everyone seems to notice, and they're able to influence and impact other people without even having to talk to them. And it's because they understand and mastered the principle of vibration, and they recognize that, well, if their vibration is affecting their reality, might as well be in the highest vibrational state you can possibly be. And this involves reprogramming your relationship with yourself and also mastering the dimensions by understanding the hermetic philosophies. And one of the most important ones is that everything is in motion. Everything is vibrating. It only has the illusion of solidity to it because our senses can't perceive past this until you awaken to your true identity, until you awaken to the fact that there is a one source of consciousness and energy that is connecting everything, and that is creating a reality and holding it together. Now, cause and effect, nothing happens by chance. Very simple. There are no coincidences. Everything is happening exactly as it needs to. That business failure, that heartbreak, that falling out with a friend, that injury that you experienced in your physical health, everything is happening exactly as it needs to. And so by understanding the cause and effect, you can take away your judgment of the negative experiences you have in your reality, and you're just in flow with yourself because you understand that everything is happening synchronistically. It's all happening to support you in your journey. There's a reason that this is happening, for you to learn or for you to upgrade your spiritual currency, your spiritual vibration. I wrote a book called Spiritual Currency. If you want that book, I'll drop a link in the description. One of the best pieces of literature I've ever written before. Cause and effect, there are no coincidences. And so everything that you experience is happening synchronistically. Of all the infinite possibilities, I talked about this in the space of variations from reality transurfing, you are here right now. That is not a coincidence. This is happening for you so that you can upgrade your paradigm on your reality, so you can affect more change and be more powerful in your frequency. Do you understand this? Even you watching this video is not just, you didn't just happen to click on this video for no reason at all. There's a very specific reason, and it's because something in this video is going to touch your heart and touch your soul, so you can raise your energy and affect more change in your reality so you can get more of what you want. That's my purpose for living. That is why I am alive, to raise the consciousness of all humans that I run into, whether it's in person or via my content on YouTube. And so everything is happening synchronistically, coincidentally. Nothing is happening by chance. Polarity. Everything is varying degrees of the same thing, which means everything is but a half truth. This is very important to understand about your spiritual connection even to God, right? At what point does a man become God and God become man? It's all varying degrees of the exact same thing. You are non-dual, non-duality. The entire church and most of this world thinks that God is this thing out there and it's infinitely more powerful than you, and you will never ever have a connection with God. And the only way you can have a connection with God is through an intermediary. Bullshit. You can have a connection to God right now. And in a more subtle example, hot and cold. At what point does something become hot and something become cold? Well, we collectively agree that 1 degree hotter than a colder temperature means that it is hotter. So 1 degree Celsius is warmer than 0 degrees Celsius, but it's all varying degrees of the exact same thing. It's all just temperature. Okay, and so where does hot begin and where does cold end? It's all subjective, right? So everything is but a half truth. Same thing with scarcity and abundance, good and bad, right and wrong. Everything lies on the same spectrum. It's just varying degrees. So everything is but a half truth. And this helps you to understand your reality and recognize the fact that that bad thing that is happening to you, that negative circumstance you find yourself in, is actually positive. Everything is positive. Everything is God. Everything is created by God and is guiding you in your path as you ascend in your journey and become a better manifestor and become a better alchemist. And so you can understand the dichotomy of this reality and be less at the whim and be less at the, I guess a better way to phrase this is that you become the effector of change on your reality because you recognize that everything is just on a spectrum. And if everything is on a spectrum, you're the person that decides whether you are good or bad. You're the person that decides whether you are right or wrong. You are the person that decides whether you are God or you are not, because every single one of you is a God. And the more you recognize the God that is inside of you, you become a more powerful being. Now, you are not God. You are not the one source of consciousness, but that one source of consciousness is in you, which makes you a God over your reality. It makes you a God over your problem. These are the truths that they don't want you to know. The secret societies don't want you to know this information, because if you did, you would literally be impossible to influence. You would be unattached, you would be unplugged from the matrix and actually be in control of your reality. Rhythm. The swing of the pendulum to the left is a swing of the pendulum to the right. The tides come in and out. Favor will favor you. Favor will find you, and then favor will evaporate from your existence. So what this means, almost just like Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, everything shall pass. This too shall pass. You can be in the best circumstance ever and it will pass. You can be in the worst circumstance ever and it shall pass. Why? Because a swing of the pendulum to the left is a swing of the pendulum to the right. And I think this is one of the most powerful principles to understand, because the more failure you experience, the more hardship and challenge that you encounter, that means on the tail end of that, you will experience more success, more abundance, more confidence, more power. And so when you stop judging the rhythm and you're totally present to whatever is going on right now, and you recognize the truth that swing of the pendulum to the left is the swing of the pendulum to the right, you are less emotionally distraught by downsides, by failures, by negative circumstances, and you view everything as positively benefiting you. There's a positive extrapolation to be had in every single circumstance. So when you understand the principle of rhythm, you're able to stay consistent and dedicated to your vision, regardless of what's going on in your reality. Pendulum, swing to the left, swing to the right. So the more it swings to the left, the more it swings to the right. The more you encounter hardship and challenges and you embrace the difficulty of this reality, the more success and the more power you tap into. It's all a byproduct of the principle of rhythm and the principle of gender. It's not like the principle of gender isn't like non-binary this and cis gender fluidity, whatever the fuck like that's going on nowadays. It's really what this is that everything has masculine and feminine polarity. If you look at the animal kingdom, there's always a masculine and a feminine animal. If you look at subatomic particles, there's electrons and protons. Fuck, I was gonna say positron. There's electrons and protons in atoms. There is man and woman. There is male and not necessarily male and female, but there is masculine and feminine to everything. And you, whether you are a man or a woman, you have a masculine and a feminine polarity deeply embedded within you, the yin and the yang. And so you understand this, you can understand more of the nature of yourself. And really the feminine is the more receptive and the masculine is the more penetrative. The feminine is the more introspective and connection with self, and the masculine is the more expressive and the mastery of the external. And so when you put these two things together, that is what ultimately raises your vibration in the first place and makes you such a powerful being, because you understand the principle of gender and it is found in everything. And so when you understand your masculine essence and you're tuned into that, but you're also tuned into your feminine essence, it's like you become the thinker and the doer. And a person who thinks to a great level can use their energetic and mental bandwidth in order to manifest greater circumstances for themselves. And also they show up in the physical dimension with so much power and so much penetrativeness that the world has no other choice but to hand over to you all of your manifestations in the first place, because you've mastered the principle of gender. And ultimately, if you were to boil all of these 7 principles down into one, is that there is a physical plane, there is a mental plane, and there is a spiritual plane. These are the 3 levels of existence. And so you're looking to your physical plane as evidence of your reality, but that's only a very small sliver of how this reality actually works. The mental and spiritual plane are the most important factors to master, because when you have a high energetic vibration and your mind is clear of all negative programming, you're tuned into your confidence, you recognize the godliness and the divinity within you, you become an excellent manifester in the physical dimension, not the other way around, right? This is where you'll see people that are like, I need to work 100 hours per week, and I need to grind my soul into the ground in order to be successful. No, you're literally only operating on the least efficient plane. 98% of your life is determined by your spiritual and energetic vibration. And so when you focus on this and you cultivate self-mastery, that is how you become an alchemist in the first place. And you study the hermetic philosophies and you apply them into your life. It's like you transcend your negative circumstances or your limited perspective, and you operate from infinite abundance and infinite power. And that is the thing that will bring about all of the beauty and all of the abundance, all of the wealth, all of the love, all of the health. Everything that you want in your reality is mastered in the spiritual plane first, and then is experienced in the physical dimension. And this is all because you understand the hermetic philosophies and you've done the deep work and you understand how this matrix works. And so the people that control the matrix can't fucking do anything to you. And you become the master of your destiny and the master of your reality. And I'm giving you like the most important parts, right? Like, again, we can do a 3-hour video just on all this stuff. And I'm telling you, like, when you actually start to apply this into your reality, it's like you turn into Neo from the Matrix. Now, maybe you won't fly and maybe you won't stop bullets, but you'll manifest the kind of reality that people are just like, dude, what? How did you do that? How did you do this? Yeah. Like, a lot of times, like, my clients, they're surprised by the results that they get. And again, I don't say this with like any kind of like, I'm not saying this to impress you guys, you feel me? But like, I am saying this because I see it happen all the time, where I'll get clients that they don't understand any of this stuff. I show it to them. I impart this wisdom and knowledge into them and help them to integrate it into their default mechanism for reality. And it's like they manifest very, very quickly. I'm talking about they make 100K in 2 months. They make 72K first month working with me. They get 30% pay bonuses at a job where that's not supposed to happen. But when you understand this, it's like you open up to all the possibilities. 3, outwitting the devil. By Napoleon Hill. Now, this is Napoleon Hill's best book by far. And he's written many, many books. You guys probably heard of him, like Think and Grow Rich or How to Raise Your Salary. He has a bunch of different really good books. Outwitting the Devil is hands on the best one. Now, this book wasn't published until after he died, and it makes sense, you know, because if this book was published during his time, he would have been like crucified socially and financially and all these different things. But essentially, the entire book is Napoleon Hill's having a conversation with the devil. And he is forcing the devil to give him all of his tricks on what he does to subdue men and control men, so that way they don't actually fulfill their true potential. And the devil says that 90% of people are drifters. Which means the drifters are the ones that he gets. He captures their energy. And only 2% of people break free or are with God. And so all the tricks that he uses are all the things that you are consciously aware of, but because the devil is so elusive and so clever, he still grips you anyways. 98% of you are drifters, and you're not even recognizing it. Now, you can be as connected with God as you think you are, and the devil is still at your heels. It is a constant, streamlined focus of awareness of where the devil is trying to penetrate your reality. This is often even in the Bible where it says you have to wear the armor of God and have your sword and shield in hand, because the devil is at every single corner. The world is dominated by the devil, but the spiritual realm is dominated by God. And when you are aligned with God, you get more of what you want in your reality. You fulfill your true potential. You become a powerful being. And those are typically the types of people that control industry. Those are the most successful people. They're the most confident. They're the most heart-centered. And those are the people that win in this reality. Now, 90% of people never get there. And all of the tricks that the devil uses, all the things that you know, right? The school system, the news, politics, families, drugs, food, entertainment, distractions, and even some that are less obvious. Religion. You might think that that church that you go to is preaching a message of God. When you talk to the devil and you understand this book and you understand the conversation that Napoleon Hill has with the devil, a lot of times the church is the biggest culprit in creating distraction and dis-ease within people, which causes them to drift and causes them to neglect their definite aim and their definitive purpose in life. And if you want to be a high vibrational being, you have to have a definitive purpose. All of these mechanisms are used to distract you from yourself. Obviously, the obvious ones are drugs. If you take drugs, like you're smoking weed and doing Molly every day, it's like, of course you're going to be a disconnected human. Your mental bandwidth is, you're literally degrading your fucking mind. Food, you're filling your body with all these toxins and all these poisons. If you walk into a supermarket, everything is processed. So you fill your body with these horrible foods and you don't move your body, you don't go out into the sunlight, you don't spend time in nature. You're going to be a disconnected person. The news is pumping fear and hysteria into you. The politics create division and conflict between people because they think that the other side is the enemy. And so you view the other side as your enemy. You're making a devil out of them. And if you make a devil out of anything else, you're actually a devil within yourself. Families, a lot of families that we're born into, 96% of families are dysfunctional to some degree, according to John Bradshaw, who did research on family dynamics back in the 90s, and he found that 96% of families are dysfunctional to some degree. A lot of times your family is the one that is holding you back, okay? And so if you have really good parents like I do, be extremely grateful for that. Be so grateful for the fact that you have parents that support you through everything. But the thing is, families are one of the biggest things that disconnect you from yourself. Religion is one of the most important ones. Is the most covert one as well. But the reason that religion, we'll talk about this in the next book a little bit more, but the reason that religion actually creates division is because your religion is right and every single other one is incorrect. Like, how does that make any sense? How is that fair from a God level perspective? Right? And then you create an enemy out of someone else who has just a differing belief, but we're all pointing to the exact same thing with just different interpretations of what that thing is. It's the one source consciousness that connects us all. And even if you think about this as well, religion creates a fear of the devil. You have to be afraid of the devil. When you're walking with God, you wear the armor, but you're not afraid of the devil. The devil's nothing. Darkness is no match for the light. But the thing is, if you don't live your life in this way, and if you commit any of these types of sins, that means you're banished from heaven and you're going to live in hell. And the only way that you can actually gain access to heaven is if you believe in this one person. Fear, 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 devil, devil, devil. And so the more you are afraid of the devil, the more the devil actually causes you to drift, to neglect your life purpose. Now, how do you stay away from the devil? How do you absolve yourself of the devil's tricks? As Earl Nightingale has said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's not an income level. It's not a type of husband or wife. It's not a level of your physique or how shredded you are. It's having a definitive aim and purpose for your life and then working at that purpose and that aim with every waking moment, okay? The only way to get rid of all of the devil's tricks and to absolve yourself of the devil's tricks is to be so rooted in your purpose that nothing can knock you off balance, that nothing can cause you to stumble. And that is what the 2% of people that actually think for themselves and actually walk their own path and adhere to their highest calling in their reality, they're the ones that are actually the most successful. You'll know that someone is walking with God when they are massively confident in themselves, when they have mental clarity, when their vibrational presence is so strong and radiant, but that's because the devil has no choice but to let them go and let them be themselves. And that's because they have a strong purpose for life and nothing can knock them off balance. And we can go deeper down this rabbit hole of how societal programming even causes people to stumble and to drift. But one of the biggest things, and for me, this is actually extremely important. And the reason it's the thing I'm about to talk about is very important is because most people have atrocious relationships, like love and romantic relationships. You have no idea who you're in partnership with. You have no idea who you are married to, but the devil captures you in very, very clever ways. And so a lot of times when men are super successful and are goal-oriented and none of these distractions can knock them off balance, what does God send? He'll send a woman to knock you off balance. And you think that this woman loves you and this woman supports you, and yet your life is going all over in these crazy directions. However, the right kind of woman will elevate you to levels of confidence and clarity and connection to God that were not possible without the presence of that divine feminine energy. And Napoleon Hill is having a conversation with the devil saying, well, how come you haven't been able to grip me? How come you haven't been able to cause me to drift? And the devil goes, oh, no, you've drifted before. Every single person has. 100% of people are drifters at some point, but 2% of people are actually able to break free of the devil's grip and the hypnotic rhythm that the devil induces onto people, and they get back on track. They get back onto their definitive aim and purpose for life. But the reason I wasn't able to capture you 100% forever, Napoleon Hill, is because of your wife. And Napoleon Hill jokes in the book, he goes, oh, you're accusing me of hiding behind a woman's skirts? He goes, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that the complement of your divine wife's mind and her feminine energy allowed you to stay away from my influence and for you to regain control over your reality. And what he means by this is that when you have a woman who is divinely connected, it's like you tap into this infinite storehouse of genius intelligence and you're able to become extremely resourceful in your reality and remain firm on your life's purpose and continue to walk that path. Because anything that deviates you from your path is a distraction, is the 98%. That's how 98% of people live their lives. Most people do not think for themselves. Most people are at the whim of whatever the matrix throws at them. And in order for you to break into this 2% category, it's like you have to absolve yourself of all these tricks and also find the appropriate and correct relationships that enhance your spiritual connection, not take away your spiritual connection. Most of you people out there, especially if you're in relationships, you're with women that don't support you, that they're with you for the wrong reasons, or that you guys are together out of like a trauma bond or something like that. It is disconnection. Anything that disconnects you from God, you have to eliminate it from your reality. And oftentimes it's the difficult ones like a love relationship or your friends or your family or even your religion. You got to cut these things out of your reality and embrace your truth and embrace your path and embrace your power. And oftentimes the devil is throwing all these tricks at you in order to cause a drift in you and hypnotize you. It's like a hypnosis. And oftentimes when people do break free and they come back to God, it's almost like they were hypnotized. They weren't even in control of their mind. And it took time for them to come back to their connection and come back to their spiritual connection of who they are to get back on the right track. And I'm telling you, this happened to me many, many times in my life. And this is going to happen to you as well. But the more you are aware of the tricks that the devil uses on you, the sooner that you can catch yourself in hypnotic rhythm and get back on path. Everyone is going to stumble at some point. Remember, the rhythm, pendulum to the left is the pendulum to the right. And the more you can become aware of how that rhythm is distracting you from your path, you can get back on your path. And that'll be the thing that helps you to manifest your money. It'll be the thing that helps you to be confident in your speech, to be able to think for yourself, to walk a path, even though there's a ton of uncertainty and there's a ton of confusion, and you're not sure exactly where the next level or that next manifestation is going to come from. But when you're walking with God, you don't even have to worry about any of those things because you know that God is supporting you, that God is taking care of you. And as long as you stay away from the devil, you're good, you're golden. Definitive aim, definitive purpose. That is how you stay away from the devil's tricks. Again, this is why people don't study this shit, is because it's like scary to understand. They're afraid of the devil. Why? It's because they've been trained to be afraid of the devil. Devil isn't scary. When you're connected to God, the devil is no match for the light. And this is very important in business and relationships and all these different things, because you'll recognize who's drifting and who's not. And the truth is that you can't really save everybody. And as they say, in order for you to be selfless, you have to be selfish first, and then you can save as many people as you possibly want. Save yourself first, and then you can save everybody else. It's funny, now that book is really, really popular now. I read it like almost 10 years ago at this point. The final book is Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. Neale Donald Walsch wrote this book in the 90s, and he also got like the 90s version of cancellation because it's a very, very controversial book. And I remember when I uncovered this book, it was about 10 years ago also, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's very, very religious. He does Christian missionaries and all this stuff. And I told him about this book, and he immediately was like, that book is blasphemous, don't read that, that's not the written word of God, and blah, 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 all this different shit, right? So Christians and very religious people consider this book to be blasphemous, but that's exactly what the devil would want you to think. They want you to think that this is the one book, this is the one belief that is correct. Every other belief is incorrect, and if you don't believe in this, that means you're going to hell. And this is essentially the conversation that Neale Donald Walsch is having with God. So in the same way that Napoleon Hill was having a conversation with the devil, Neale Donald Walsch was having a conversation with God. And he was understanding, okay, what actually is God? And it's essentially like it turns Christianity and Catholicism and all these other religions on their head. Because even if you think about this, right, your God is all powerful and all knowing. And there are indigenous tribes in this world. There are people that, in the Amazon or in Africa or in some of the Pacific Islands, that they've never been in contact with Christianity. They've never been in contact with like the mainstream world, mainstream society. And so your God is damning those people to hell. How is that fair? They've never had contact with the world. They've never had a Messiah walk on their land and tell them and preach to them the gospel of God, right? So how does that make sense? Your God is all knowing and all powerful and all forgiving, and yet he damned these people? That doesn't seem fair at all. And so there's so many different contradictions that happen in religion, and it's because what the man-made version of religion, the man-made institution of Catholicism, Christianity, and Muslim, and every religion is pointing to the same thing and just has their own interpretation. But in order to gain adherence, you have to create an enemy out of everything else. It's using fear and division in order to capture your energy and your attention and disconnecting you from self, when the truth is that you can have a connection with God, and you do. You don't need an intermediary. You do not need to go to church in order to be blessed by God. How does it make sense to go to church on Sundays, but then you never ever have communication with God outside of that? It makes no sense. You are connected to God right now, and as soon as you recognize the divinity within you, the same way Neale Donald Walsch did whenever he had his conversation with God, the sooner you realize what God actually is. And here's the truth. I need a new blue marker. That's the truth. The truth is that you were not born into sin. And this is why Catholics and Christians reject this book as blasphemous. But the thing is, you are not born into sin. And essentially, all of the dogmas of religion are really just fear-based programming to get you to adhere to the religion itself. Oh, you can't, premarital sex is a sin, or doing drugs is a sin, and everything that is bad and wrong is bad and wrong, and that means if you do any of these things that you are going to hell. Now you need to go to confession, and if you just like confess your sin, that means you're absolved of hell. It's like all these weird dogmas that the churches and all these institutions create in order to capture your attention and capture your energy. You were not born into sin. Again, how does this make any sense? Does that mean everybody who was born before Jesus Christ, that means they're all going to hell? Like, even if you think about this from the sense of like the Old Testament Bible, God is like a child, you know? It's like, oh, I don't like these people. Let's just flood them, you know? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? And this is bringing more of like a humanistic and even just a soul level approach to religion itself, because it's really interesting how most religious people are religious but not spiritual. They don't understand the actual essence of religion. Anything that creates a division and anything that robs you of your consciousness, anything that is distracting you from the essence of God that is deeply embedded within you, is not God. It is not God. The truth is that God comes in a myriad of forms, infinite amount of forms. And when you are tuned in and connected to this, you start to see the God in everything. You become like a child of this world. You develop like a childlike curiosity of how this world works and have a sacred reverence and respect for everything that you run into. And you bless everything that you run into. When I walk outside, I don't just see like trees and roads. I see God in everything. I look at the sky and I see this beautiful blue sky that God created. I see the water. I see the clouds. I see the cars that God has blessed certain humans with wisdom to create so that we can travel faster. I see beauty in everything. And that is what actual God connection is. And I'm going to make this make sense as it relates to living a higher quality life in a second here. But the whole premise here is you weren't born into sin. What this means is that there is no bad. Everyone goes to heaven. Everyone gets into heaven. Right now, you are worthy of heaven. All of the sins that you've committed, everything that you think you've done bad or negative, you are absolved right now. Because at the highest levels of spiritual enlightenment, there is no good or bad. Remember, principle of polarity. Everything is but a half truth. Where does good begin and bad end? It is all subjective. Your entire reality of your existence is a subjective experience. There is no objective truth. And if anything, really the only objective truth that there is that we know nothing. How is it that you know what happens after? How are you so confident in what happens after your death? You have no idea. We haven't been able to perceive that yet in a way that is measurable and specific, okay? And so everyone goes to heaven. And the reason that he got canceled is because of this part right here. Because he said in the book, Hitler went to heaven. I'm not going to use that name anymore because I don't want to get this video banned. Adolf went to heaven. And you might think, wait, the person that killed millions of people and was responsible for all these deaths also went to heaven? What he's saying here is the fact that under the eyes of God, there is no good or bad. And a common thing that people that are religious say is that, well, God gave you free will, and that's why people do bad things, because they're using their free will in order to commit pain and atrocities onto others. So your God is all-knowing and all-powerful, gave us free will, but then punishes you for using that free will. That doesn't make sense either. That's not what actual God-like essence is. God gave us the ability to experience the entire range of human experience. And yes, there is a collectively agreed upon consensus of what bad is as it relates to humans, right? If you do bad things, there will be consequences for that. Like if you murder or if you are unjust towards others, yes, you will have consequences in the eyes of humans. But under the eyes of God, you are able to do those things because God is in every single moment. God is in every single circumstances in every single person. The only difference between you and Adolf is that you are not a forgetful soul, and people that commit pain and perpetuate pain onto others are forgetful souls. If they were tuned into their consciousness and tuned into the God-like essence, they wouldn't believe in things like racism or eugenics or all these negative things that create pain for others. We would all be on the same harmonic frequency and bring about more love and more forgiveness and more consciousness amongst each other, because we're all part of the same one consciousness. One source. The one source consciousness, we are all connected. Only forgetful souls that forget who they are and their core being are the ones that perpetuate pain. Because even if you think about this, people that do create pain for others, think about how much pain that they must be in. To think that a certain type of person is your enemy, or even if you think about people that do a bunch of drugs and fill their body with like meth and fentanyl and all that shit, it's like how disconnected are they from themselves that they do these things to their own bodies or even to other people? They are massively disconnected. But does that mean that they don't have God? Does that mean God doesn't forgive them? Does that mean they don't get into heaven? No, everyone gets into heaven. The highest levels of spiritual wisdom, there is no good or bad. And I can prove this to you. If you jump off of a building, of a building and you're the most righteous person in town, you're still going to hit the floor and splatter. That's because at the highest levels of spiritual wisdom and the way this universe works, there is no good or bad. You can be the most righteous person ever. Is God going to save you and catch you so you don't hit the ground? No, you're still going to hit the ground. Okay? And so the universe operates on this paradigm. Humans operate on a different paradigm in a limited perspective. Now, the reason that this is all helpful to understand in relation to your manifestations and alchemizing your reality, if you stayed up until this point and you've sat through my religious sermon, as my friends call me the pastor sometimes, but if you've stayed through this entire sermon that I've just given you, what you'll understand is that you are forgiven, and you can let go of all guilt and shame. Whatever guilt and shame you have about who you are or who you've been, you are forgiven, and you can let that go. And how this allows you to enter into higher vibrational states, because when you're in a high vibrational state, you're an authentic human being who sees the God in other people and is able to bring out that God in them, which raises the consciousness for everybody and creates a more harmonic, an experience with more harmony with one another. Because beings that are love and light are absolved of guilt and shame. And so that failure that you had, or your parents that were super strict on you, or your partner that blamed you for the ending of that relationship, or you got fired from your job for X, Y, and Z reason, or you weren't good enough for X, Y, and Z thing. You can let all of this go, and you can recognize the divinity of every single moment and every single opportunity that comes your way. And you can actually call into your experience greater circumstances for yourself. Because when you are absolved of guilt and shame, you raise your energetic frequency. And when you raise your energetic frequency, you affect physical plane, physical dimension change on your reality, which gives you more opportunity. This is the thing, by the way, that will make you successful in business. Oftentimes people come to me because they see my client results of like 100K in 2 months, 100K in 1 month, 72K 1 month, all this shit, right? They see all these crazy client results and they think I'm doing like some secret mystery strategy of like business. If you message 100,000 people, that means you'll close X amount and blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, there is definitely structure and pragmatism when it comes to business. But ultimately, the thing that allows you to actually be more of a genius in your reality and to exploit opportunities in this physical dimension where you can provide more value to the world, which in which you will be compensated financially for, starts with this. This is the baseline of everything. This is the baseline of how you tune into your own power and how you let go of all the expectations and all the judgments that this world has to offer. You absolve yourself of the devil's tricks that grips 98% of people, and you become like the 2% of people that are free to do whatever they want. And the 2% of people that are free thinkers are mavericks of industry. They are trendsetters. They are the conscious beings that are healing the world. They are the beings that bring so much love and light that they enhance the experience of every single human around them. And after a certain point, you start to eliminate forgetful souls. Not like kill them or whatever, but I mean like you start to help other souls remember their own essence within themselves. And that's what this book is meant to do. It's meant to return you to the actual essence of what God is, and you do away with the forgetful parts of yourself. And every single person comes with some level of forgetfulness, and really your soul essence is to remember who you actually are. That is the journey of the soul, and even why the third dimension of this reality, why we come here, why our souls come here and are birthed into this reality, is to do this, to remember who you actually are at your core essence, which allows you to tap into your multidimensionality of who you are. And this is where you'll hear from people that are like, yeah, I visualize things in the fifth dimension where time and space are not fixed. Because when you're able to visualize from that perspective, you get downloads of information on how to traverse this plane with much greater power and much greater sovereignty and much greater precision, which gives you more of the resources that you want in the first place. That is a thing that is massively attractive in relationships. That is a thing that is extremely magnetic in business. That is a thing that makes you a compelling leader. Not liter as in a gallon of water, but leader, I mean. Because when you are a leader, you make more money. When you are a leader, you attract better relationships. When you are a sovereign soul, you bring about amazing and beautiful circumstances for all the humans around you, which is the thing that gives you more in this reality in the first place. And you start with being a selfish person, you cultivate your own self-mastery, and then you come and bring that self-mastery out into the world, and beautiful things and synchronistic things start to become a part of your reality. And this is why I believe, and I genuinely believe, all these books aren't found at the top of any of these best books to read on self-improvement, because not only are they very dense and difficult to understand, and even in truth, it takes a lifetime to understand this information, right? The master teachers of time spent their entire life studying this information so that you and I can get it like that. So that you and I, within a few years, you can embody this type of energy and become one of the 2% of people that actually become connected to God. And you become like the chosen one. You become one of the chosen few. And the truth is, every single person is a chosen one, the same way Jesus Christ was, the same way Neo from the Matrix was chosen, Hermes Trismegistus was chosen with all of this wisdom and all of this intellect. All of you are chosen the same way I am. Now, the only difference between us, the 2% here, and the 98% of people that never actually embody that is that we actually chose it. We owned it. And it's gonna be a rigorous and painful process in some way, because you have to do away with all the mental programming that has told you that you are not good enough, that you can't do X, that you can't do Y. They have to be realistic. God is delusional. The devil is realistic. And the more you embody this as a byproduct of your reality, the more you start to tap into your true essence and your true power, and you walk your path, that definitive purpose and that definitive aim in your life becomes readily available, and you'll know exactly what to do, when to do it, and everything will work out. You'll synchronistically find the right opportunities. You will never ever worry about money again. You would never worry about where love is supposed to come from again. You'll never worry about how things are going to work out, and they just do, right? And this all starts with understanding how God actually works. You understand the devil's tricks. You master the planes of this reality. You understand the hermetic philosophy. It's like you transcend into life circumstances that other people, the average person, the 98% are just like, how the fuck? How did they do this? But you know the secrets of this reality. The same secrets that the elite societies don't want you to know. But after this video, you'll be impossible to control. So that's pretty much it from me, guys. I wanted to impart this wisdom because I love you all and I see the God in you. And when you live through that as well, you'll transcend into levels of wisdom and knowledge and power and control over your reality that rivals even the master teachers of time, okay? So go out there and do it. Go read the books. I'll drop the links in the description. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.